I'd like to share with everybody a project that we've been working on this year. We started off in the spring and we were looking to convert some old pasture land into garden beds, and we're putting a lot in, 9 or 10 30-foot garden beds, and we started off by turning the sod over with a tractor which had a plough attachment on the back, and then we decided we were going to use potatoes and the Ruth Stout method to accelerate the establishment of these beds. So we did some of these beds, we rototilled up and formed into actual beds that we then placed our seed potatoes on, and some of the beds we didn't bother rototilling, we just dropped the potatoes straight onto the ground, and then we covered everything with about a foot of spoiled hay that we'd got from a local farmer. Unfortunately, I didn't get any video as we established these beds in the spring, but I did take some photos, so I'm showing you them here. And then I took a little bit of video later on in the season when I went to do some weeding. Enjoy! So it's the middle of August. This is our Ruth Stout potato plot. It's been weeded once this year. As you can see, the weeds are certainly taken over. Here's a bed here that I weeded last week, and I'll be carrying on. Just to give you an idea about how big these weeds are in the areas. This area over here, we haven't used the Ruth Stout method, and you can see the weeds are taller than the rototiller that's sitting there. So it looks pretty bad, but I tell you, it's much easier weeding in the beds where we've put a lot of thick hay down as mulch, and I'm using these weeds as extra mulch. The rototiller is emerging from the weeds, and you can now see down where the walkway is, and I've just pulled the weeds and thrown them on top of the bed, and I'm going to be doing the same. Now, one thing I wanted to say as I was moving along is it was extremely difficult to pull these weeds out of the walkways, because this is the area where the rototiller's been, and if you have a look underneath here, it's all dry, compacted soil, and these weeds are like well rooted in there. I'm going to have to come in here with a scythe or a blade of some sort and cut it all down, and then I'll dump all the mulch down here. Now, am I concerned about these weeds? And look, you can see they're full of seeds. No, I'm not, because this is all nutrition and that's in these plants, and as they break down, they're gonna return that nutrition back into the soil. And the weed seeds like this here, they'll pop down, but if they can't get contact with the soil, they'll germinate and die. So I'm not very concerned. I've got bladderwort in here, I've got thistles in here, I've got lamb's quarters in here. Another thing is worth noting is potatoes aren't supposed to be attractive to deer, but you see here, the deer love potatoes, eating potatoes around here. They eat all the tops down, and we've had problems with this all summer where the deer just come in and they eat all the potatoes, the potato plants, all the way down, and then they just leave them. So it's going to be interesting to see if we actually get a harvest this year. Okay, so the weeding's done. There's 9.5 30-foot beds of potatoes. It took me 4 hours to do the weeding, and so far we've spent 5.5 hours this entire growing season on weeding this bed for one person. So that's not too bad. We also spent about an hour and a half planting. So this is an experiment with the Ruth Stout method, and some completely virgin land. We tilled with a tractor in the spring. You can see what it looks like going back, and it hasn't been touched. It's now middle of September, and we've had about 3 or 4 days of pretty hard frosts. So it's killed back all the potatoes. You can now see the weeds have popped back up again after a month ago when I was here doing some weeding. And today we're going to pull the beds back and see if we've got any potatoes to harvest. So this is the first bed. I just pulled back the mulch. All the hay that's been there all summer, I just pulled it back and I'm about to start digging up the potatoes. But you can see there's a reasonable number of potatoes just sitting there on top of the soil, which is pretty cool. Sort of more than I was expecting, really. But so I'm quite excited to see how much you actually get out of this half bed. This is only 15 feet long, so we'll have a look. We actually planted the seed potatoes into the ground on this bed to see if it made a difference. So we'll soon find out.
So we found some voles in our potato patch. They were getting ready for winter, so we're going to go and put them somewhere away from the potatoes, and they can live happily until they become food for owls and foxes and things this winter.
Okay, well here's our harvest. We did 7.5 rows today, so we got 2 rows to go, but they're a bit of an experiment with some dodgy seed potatoes. Well, we'll see. But we're going to call it quits for today. We caught some voles. We put them away somewhere, turn them into owls, and then we're going to, next weekend we'll probably come back and cover all these beds with a little bit of, we'll top dress them and then cover them with some deep hay mulch for the winter.